Yeah, buddy.
New and improved, coming at you, changing the positions every week. People, you know what you can expect.
That's
Yeah,
it. We get to see your face all brightened up. This is what we're looking forward to, man.
just as you said, that your camera blurs out. Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. Just keep me on my
controlling.
toes. As
That's the
always
one,
doing.
man.
Yeah.
It is, man. It is. It is. It is. What's been going on, man? Tell me.
I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm proud. I'm proud Brown today.
Mm.
Mm.
What's the source of pride?
The source of pride is you, brother. Is
Hey, hey.
your appearance on the Channel 4 show Lose Weight with Me, Lose Weight Like Me. Sorry,
There we
that
go.
was bro. Your levels, man. You were up. You were way up here. It was too good. I was just like so happy to just see you just repping it and just you could feel your honesty, you could feel your integrity, you could feel your energy through the show, and just how much you gave a damn about Kathleen's progress. It was sick, man, and even the presenter Jordan as well. Like when you made your appearance, like you came through the when the picture of you, the giant picture of you, just lifted up and you came through,
Yeah.
and then everybody was like super excited. They're like, "Oh my god, look at him! He looks amazing!" And then Kathleen's like, "He looks like a model." And then when you left, like Jordan was like, "Oh, I tell you something, man. That Umar's a real guy. He's a real guy." And I was like, "Yeah, my man. You know because you don't usually see one that often. You know when you see a real guy."
Legend, bro. You too kind, man. You're buttering me up today, man.
Yeah, but you're out real nice. You're like, "What do you want from me, man? What do you want from me?" Now,
Tell
honestly,
me.
man, it was sick. It was wicked. And just honestly, Kathleen, what a character. She's
Tell me,
awesome,
bro.
man, and she absolutely smashed it. And proper, just fully committed to it.
Yeah, man, 100%, 100%. Thank you very much, bro. Thank you very much. I really appreciate that. It was Kathleen, amazing character.
Mm.
I spoke to my auntie this morning and I told her that as soon as I met her, I thought of my auntie because they're both like loud, strong, powerful women that
Mm.
you talk to some people and you don't get the oomph from them. You know what I mean? You don't get that kind of that presence when they're there in front of you. But
Right.
you get that
Yeah.
with Kathleen, and
Yeah.
she's a lovely, strong woman. Really, really, really. How can I put it? Just a joy to be around. Just a joy to be around.
Mm.
Always having something funny to say. Always got that big smile on her face, and it was really nice because I think the best thing out of the whole process was well one of the highlights. So many highlights, but one of the highlights was I called her the morning after the show and I was
Mm.
driving down, and she said to me, really nicely, she said, "Thank you so much because now I just feel like I know." And I was like,
Mm.
straight away that satisfaction
Yeah.
of like what we do. You know, we
Mm.
work in the field of personal development, right? And
Mm.
that was just such a gratifying moment to hear that somebody who is gone through 50 years of life nearly is now at a place where they've got ownership of a part of their life they've never had before. And she was
Mm.
expressing it in such a nice way, in such a genuine way that she was just saying, like, look, I'm still as busy as I always have been, but I've got X, Y, and Z in place, and I know that I'm not going to leave it too long between meals. And when I'm going to go for a meal, I'm going to base it around protein, and I'm going to go from here, and I know what my options are. I was like,
Mm.
this is exactly what I wanted. This is exactly what I
Yeah.
wanted. Like the number on the scale is fantastic that she lost a stone and a half in just 8 weeks from never
Mm.
having done anything like this before. But the fact that she's now in an empowered place and we're still
Mm.
coaching together,
Amazing.
she's yeah, man, made me so happy, so happy.
Yeah.
Hundred
That's
percent, man. Yeah.
brilliant, man. I loved it. I
Fun
just loved
times.
seeing her take it. I love seeing her take it by the scruff of the neck and just
Mm.
running with it, and just owning it as well. It was awesome.
Too right, man. And she was, do you know what? She was such a delight to work with because every turn you'll just laugh your ass off because she's just
Yeah.
busting jokes. Like the first one with the super sets and super sex, I was like,
Yeah.
Kathleen, what are you doing? Because while she was, I think she was saying that bit, and either I was in the box or I can't remember, but
I
but
think you were in the box. Yeah, you were
yeah,
in the
yeah,
box because
yeah, yeah,
they were talking about what your approach was, and
yeah.
she hadn't met you yet.
So I busted a gut inside this box because I've been there for a little while, and I'm hearing her talk about it, and I'm just like, God damn, this is crazy. Like this woman is actually crazy. I love it. I love
That's
it, man.
hilarious, man.
Yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah.
great.
But just, the whole process itself was just as a fun process to be part of. And my mum had the most adorable reaction. She's like, typical Indian mum. She's like, "You're the first one in our family to be on TV. It's amazing."
It's like, Mum, if I never made it on TV, you wouldn't be proud?
Yeah. No, man, she's just super cute. Man. And that's the typical exactly. Like Asian mom response, eh? And like my grandma rang me the next day and she said the same thing. It was funny because I was really apprehensive about the show in the sense that we talked about it a tiny bit, but even when we finished talking about it, so we finished filming it, I was really unsure about how it would come across. Like I don't know these people. I don't know what kind of how they portray, and you hear stories about like people in tabloids and this and you know, just being like shone in weird light. So you're thinking like obviously what you're saying is genuine to you because it's my story and it's how I want to come across and whatever. But you're just scared. You know, you're just scared because you're properly out there. And I got those jitters like 2 days out because they called me a week away and said, "Oh, it's going to come on this date and tell everybody you know and all this kind of stuff." I told no one. I was like, I ain't telling no one. Y'all can find out on your own if you want to. Like, I was like, I'm not saying.
Yeah, exactly. Because I was like, you must have known for like weeks as well. And then you only told us about it on the day that it was coming out. I was like, I didn't even have a TV. How am I going to watch this? It's like, I got to figure out how to watch this.
Got to get some 4OD going. Yeah, man. But you know what it was? I got caught up, and this is a personal thing of mine that I need to get out of my own way and say like, look. Obviously, the apprehension I had was that I would come across in a weird way, but that was based in no reality. Like, what weird way? Like you're making this bullshit up in your head. Like everything you've said in the story is your story. They've not asked you questions to try and get you, but it was just something that I thought and got a bit paranoid about. So I just wanted to be quiet about it, and then as people found it, I wanted to watch it and just be like, okay, hopefully they've just done it. They've done it well and it's tasteful and people can enjoy it. And then I'll start telling people about it. But then on the evening, I'm getting crazy amounts of messages from this member of family and that member of family. And my grandma rang me the next day and said, your Chachi's sister in Birmingham rang me and said you're on the TV. And I was like, oh my goodness, like this is actually crazy. It's gone all over the place. But yeah, man, it was a bit of a lesson for me to be like, shut up, man. Like, just stop taking yourself so seriously. Firstly, and it's cool. Just celebrate what you've done, and your heart's in the right place about it. So just crack on, man. Don't be nervous.
Exactly. It's one of two ways. It's like, okay, you come across as you do normally come across. They put you that way, but if you come across and for some reason they just make you come across like a weirdo or whatever, but at least you know who you are. It's like, don't worry about whatever, right? It's like,
truth be told, I'm a bit of a weirdo. So I mean, like, I can't really hide from that shit, can I?
No one's figured that out yet.
Well, it's the second reveal of the week, guys. Reveal. I'm gonna get my box. I'm gonna get my cupboard and come on out and be like, sorry, guys. This is it's
too funny, man. So my bro got a message from one of our friends. I don't know if you remember. I don't even remember Umar, like shortest guy, squatty. He came wrestling a couple times. He came to start coming to Sylvia's class.
Okay.
Yeah, so it was because he came a couple times. You might not.
I think I vaguely remember Umar because there's a few faces that I can't put names to, but I remember seeing with you guys.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, cool. Yeah, so we used to bring a crew along every week.
Yeah, man.
There was like 6 of us at least or something. And
the Browns.
That's it, exactly. The Browns are here. The Browns are here.
I love it.
So like, so he got pumped. Like he was like, I'm going to start coming wrestling with you boys. And then he came. And so the funny thing was Sam got a message from him. And he was like, I just came down the stairs and I was like, my parents are watching TV. And I look at the TV and I was like, oh, that's Umar. And my mom goes, yeah, how'd you know who he is? He goes, I tried to take him down at wrestling.
I love that.
Yeah, exactly. That had me in stitches.
A double leg on that guy one time.
Yeah, exactly. That guy on TV, I tried to take him down, man. I tried to double leg motherfucker. He wouldn't do it. He wouldn't move. He wouldn't budge.
That's awesome, man. What a reaction to have.
Yeah, exactly. He's like,
I know
you. Umar? Yeah. I know you. I tried to take you down.
Oh man, you need to show me who it is. I can't remember who he is properly off the top of my head. But that's too funny.
Yeah,
That
man,
is too funny.
he's a joker as well. So that
Yeah,
was
man.
that was a great result.
I
Like,
love.
how you know who he is?
We just wrestle
It's excellent,
sometimes.
man.
Yeah, me and him just have a good wrestle sometimes. That's
Yeah,
brilliant.
exactly.
That's
But you know,
awesome, man.
like overall, like, what did you actually think of the show itself? Because I don't watch any TV, right? And anything to
Mm.
do with fitness and health and stuff like that, I'm just kind of like, you know, whatever. It's just most of the stuff out there is full of nonsense. But actually, the show I thought was it had a good energy about it. It had a good vibe, and it was mostly like, no, heart's in the right place with it.
Mm.
And it actually had some useful information, and it was quite inspiring for people to see. That's what I thought about it. You know, I was like, hey, actually, well done on putting it together a show where you're mostly all right and not full of shit, basically.
Yeah, yeah, you're right, man.
Yeah.
Do you know that's always the worry, and this is what kind of stemmed from the worry I explained earlier, is that I didn't want to be part of something that was portraying the ugly side of the fitness industry, which is
Yeah.
egotistical and is just too big for its boots. You know what I mean? Like I didn't want to be that, or it's trying to portray something that it isn't.
Yeah. Or like, you know, just that usual. Well, they didn't talk about anybody being a trainer, right? So that was one thing. So they didn't mention that, you know, you're a trainer. So it was you don't want it to be anything like, you know, just smash, smash, smash. This is how you do things. It was like lifestyle changes is what they were the key. It was one of the things really, really trying to push in that as well.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. I mean, I can't judge the people on the show for the way that, like, sometimes the conversations behind the scenes were a little bit in agenda based, if I can leave it at that. Like, kind of they did want to kind of drive things forward, but then that's where, like, I'm really happy that I was on board, because it was like, okay, guys, this is the process that we have to go through with these people, and this is where we should think about this. And then you hear, oh yeah, yeah, that's sustainability, it's lifestyle change, it's
Nice.
keeping people happy and making sure that they can function at a time like during lockdown. And yeah, that's what I've really got to commend the show on, is that where the industry kind of leads the show business to be about a certain kind of business, they didn't really partake in that too much. You know what I mean? They didn't
Cool.
really kind of go that way. And I think that, like, that's what you're picking up with um, in your opinion of the show. Like, it came across credible, came across inspirational. There was heartfelt moments, there was laughs, and there was actually real, like, decency behind the people, the way they'd done their own thing. They're all everyone was really real on the show, and the process was just a fun process, man. I can definitely say I would definitely want to be part of it again if they were doing something like that. I definitely would be up for it. And I think it's what people need, you know. People that, like, our industry is definitely going in a certain direction, especially with the kind of coaches that we're involved with now, the kind of studying that we're doing. And for obviously there was no recognition toward being a PT, being a coach, that you said. But if the whole health industry is moving forward, then it's a better thing all around, man. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly, man. That's cool, man. Yeah. That's
Yeah.
yeah. It's fun. It's fun to see.
It was jokes, man. It was jokes. I was telling what was the brother's name, man? I think his name is Zach.
Right.
Big guy who comes to wrestling at Ray Stevens.
Oh yeah.
He messaged me and he was like, "Bro, you missed a trick." And I was like, "What do you mean?" He was like, "When
Yeah.
you came out of that box, you should have had no shirt on, man." I was like, "You should have just busted out with your sleeves and just that's it. You should have just, if you had to have the suit on, you should rip the sleeves off, and they'd be like, 'Yep, what are we doing? What's the job?'"
Just like Hulk out.
Exactly. And I was like, "Mate, you don't know this, but they actually wanted me to
Exactly.
be topless underneath the suit." And I was like, "We ain't playing that game. It's not that kind of
Yeah.
show." But then they were like, "Can we use this picture?" And I was like, "Okay, fine, go for it. Like, use that picture, but like, this is not happening on like live TV. Not live TV, but
Yeah.
like on national broadcast TV, that I actually walk out with a jacket on, with no clothes underneath." I'm like, "No, I'm sorry. My mom's gonna watch this."
Yeah. That would have been so cringe, man.
No, man. Exactly. This is the part of the business of show, right? That we need to be like, "Okay,
Yeah.
guys, just let me just rein you guys in. Like, chill out.
Yeah.
It's not about me."
Yeah. That was great, man. Yeah, it's good that you held your ground on that as well. That was pretty jokes.
Yeah, we talked about this, didn't we? We talked about this off air, like, before.
Yeah.
That was fun, man. That was fun. But yeah, there was just a fun process, dude. It was a fun process. And, like, this is something that I used to do when I was younger, right? I don't know if we've talked about this, but drama, like in school and secondary school.
Yeah.
You know, you talk about your improv. We haven't talked about it in so long. I don't know if you've been able to do
Yeah.
it, but we should chat
Yeah,
about that
done
in a
a
minute.
little bit. Yeah.
Oh, sick. So what, through lockdown?
Yeah, there was the classes that went on basically, I'll tell you more about it after you said your piece as well. But it was just essentially
Okay.
the classes. We had like 4 or 5 classes left of our sessions when we were seeing each other face to face. So we just ended up having to get it done during lockdown as well. So it was a
Nice.
completely different
Nice.
experience. But yeah, I'll tell you about that.
All right. Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, in school, in secondary school, especially, I'd say, I don't know what I'm just a kid who enjoyed performing arts, and
Yeah.
probably there's a side to me like that. I remember when I was really little, I would be always that crazy kid in the weddings that would just be dancing like an absolute lunatic,
Yeah.
like just having all the great time by myself, just spinning and kicking and throwing my arms in the air. Like that was me as a child, right? And that'll actually stem into our chat later on, that we're gonna have a little bit about childhood.
Yeah.
But the performing arts side of things, I feel like it's left me over the last couple of years. You know, when you get
Right.
into training and kind of getting a bit serious, and the whole earlier part of weight loss, a lot just didn't really pay much attention to it since leaving school. And then with but saying that, I've always had a little inclination in the back of my head that I want to try something like this again. So a couple of
Yeah.
years ago, I actually put my name down on a website which is like for extras and TV shows. So I was like,
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
I'll do that, and like kind of just step in, because it's such a removal from what we do day to day. At a certain level, I do feel like my
Yes.
my human likes that. You know what I mean? Like the different kind of dialogue, different kind of scenery and stuff. So it definitely appeased that side of me, getting back on there and
Yeah.
just kind of
Nice.
speaking. And personally, it got easier and easier, if I'm honest, because there was the 3 filming days. The first one was the one in the box, in the suit, and the second one was the one where I went to Kathleen's house, and the third one was the one where we sat around the big table. And all of them, I just felt much more like, this is fine, this is okay. It was the first one, I was ultra tense, like the way I was when we recorded our first episode, even though this is just me and you.
Yeah.
I felt
Yeah.
like I was on show for some reason. But yeah, man, it was really fun, really good, a really interesting experience on all fronts.
Yeah. For sure, man. There's yeah. Yeah. Tell me a little bit more about that performing arts side of you. Did you ever actually do any like plays and stuff at school? Or
Yeah,
yeah.
so yeah, what was it, year 5, I think I want to say. I was this is going to sound so bizarre, like what kid in year 5, I don't know, how old are you in year 5? 8 years old?
No, 9, 10.
Okay. So
Yeah.
at that age, I played Randy Waterman in a school play. I mean,
Who's that?
yeah, exactly.
Randy?
Randy Waterman is the, you know how you have America's Got Talent? Have you? No, not America's Got Talent. American Idol. Have you seen American Idol? And
Oh,
you
yeah.
have Randy. You have
The
I'm
judges.
there. Yeah. Sorry. So you have Randy Jackson, who's the black guy, who's the judge, right?
Okay. Yeah.
The British version of X Factor initially had Randy Waterman, I think,
Okay.
who was a judge, right? So white guy, kind of like fruity shirts, and just
Right.
that was his thing, right? And I for some reason played him in a school play. But the thing that links it back to me being me was my mom sat in the audience, right? And she sat next to another parent, and she goes, and the parent turns to my mom, and she goes, "Oh, that's my daughter over there. That's the kid. That's my child."
Yeah.
I didn't plan that, and
That's a great
that's,
explanation.
that's the one I own. And I want that one,
Yeah.
yeah. And my mum turns to her and says, "Oh yeah, the one in the jacket. That's my son." And she
Yeah.
looks at her like perplexed, like, "I thought that was a teacher." Like, and she's like, "No, he's in the same year. He's in the same class as your kid. He's in the same class." I was like, "No, he's not a teacher, crazy lady.
You're
He's
just a
actually
giant
9."
boy.
Yeah, he's actually 9. Because I actually wore my dad's leather jacket, which didn't fit me, but it was like part of the costume or the uniform or whatever. And yeah,
Oh my
I was
god.
probably 9 or 10, and here we are, man.
I thought you were the teacher.
Thought I was a teacher, bro. I thought I was a teacher. He's like,
Oh man.
he's your son. That's
Yeah.
crazy. Yeah.
He's a big boy.
Yeah. Don't play with him.
Did he get held back 20 years? What? What are you talking about? He's your son.
He's got his own children at home. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, that was my first experience with being like.
Oh damn. There you go. Your sound's off.
Phone call. No,
There
that's
you
all right.
go.
It's all right. I've got a phone call on my phone. It's linked to my thing, but yeah, it's good. We're good.
Oh right. Yeah. Yeah. We're good.
We're good. So that was my first like showbiz Brown experience, or like
Yeah.
on stage, whatever you want to call it. But I really enjoyed it, man. You know, nativity plays and all this kind of stuff. And then I played Mr. Blobby in a play once. That was great.
Yeah.
That was pretty awesome. Yeah. I could say that. I played Mr. Blobby. Like nobody who's young right now will even know who Mr. Blobby is. Like I didn't really know who Mr. Blobby was, but that's like some 90s trivia for you, right? Mr. Blobby, like the big pink guy with yellow spots all over his body, who was just ultra random. I don't even know if was he a kids TV thing or was he like just a dumb thing? I don't even know.
The last place I remember him is that Noel Edmonds TV show.
Oh, Mighty
Yeah,
Boosh.
that's no. That's a different Noel.
I have no idea. I have no idea.
The Mighty Boosh. I mean, yeah, he might as well have come out of the Mighty Boosh.
Yeah, that's why I thought it was so random, right? Crazy.
Brilliant. No, I can't remember. It was like, I can't remember the name of his show. But yeah, he did say, yeah, that's funny. You played Mr. Blobby. Like, did they make you put on a costume in that?
Yeah, man, it was a sick costume. They made the head out of like paper mache, and it was like
Right.
eyes and shit. And it was great, man. It was really good. And then that kind of pajama top, pink, yellow spots. I nailed it, man. I thought I did pretty good. And I was like, obviously the largest child, so I was just this enormous kind of like bumbling, crazy kid. But I had a great time, man. I was like, oh, this is great. This is awesome.
That's amazing. And then there's like the parents in the audience again saying, "Why is that teacher taking center stage? This is the kids show."
Get off the stage. Yeah, man. No, that was little old me, man. Little old me. But yeah, secondary school was fun. And then I definitely wanted to go straight into performing arts as well up until like year 9. I did a few plays, and those were done in like a theatre. There was a theatre called the Arc Theatre in Stockton. And we performed there, and that was so much fun, man. That was actually like in front of a big audience, like I think it was paying. I think it was obviously a lot of parents and whatnot. But that was a bigger speaking role, being like a narrator and whatnot. So it was really good, man. So from a young age, you have this like thing with, I want to project my voice, I want to speak big, I want to kind of be a bit flamboyant and enjoy it. But then, yeah, like I said earlier, it's kind of a part of me that's been a bit subdued as we've got into other things. But yeah, I think it's definitely there. So this has helped me to rediscover that a little bit too.
That's fun, man. I need you come back to London, man. When things open up, we just hit improv classes together, man.
I'm down, bro. I'm down. I'll make the trip. I'll make the trip once in a while. Come down, hit an improv class, and why not, man? 100%. That'd be so much fun. What were you saying about that beforehand? You were saying it's you've continued it.
Yeah. So because basically, there were like four or five classes left of the show before lockdown hit. And then lockdown hit, and they were like, "Okay, we're going to put this off for a while, because who knows what the hell's going to happen. We'll see if we can do it live, go back to doing it live." And but then it got to the stage where it was just waiting too long. Oh, look, guys, we're just going to go ahead and finish these classes off on Zoom. And credit to them, like as soon as lockdown hit, they started doing classes on Zoom straight away, like drop-in classes, the actual level 1, 2, 3, 4 classes, plus the other courses that they had going on. And so they really transitioned and they made it viable as best as you possibly can on over online. So yeah, just rate them for making it work.
Legit, man.
And then so then when we came back to it, I was like, I was missing it as well. I was like, man, there's a part of my brain, there's a part of me which is just like you said, subdued, is latent, it's not getting worked. And I always remember like how I would feel like my mind is just expanding after doing a 2.5 hour class. You just feel like, when you do any kind of warm up, you do a warm up in jits or in the wrestling class, and then by the time you come to sparring, you're like, I'm so fully ready to go. It just, I could feel like, whatever, just throw shit at me. And then it was the same with improv as well. Like you go into the class and you're in your own zone, you're in your own way of thinking, but then you start doing the warm-ups and it's just like, whoa, jolting you out of your own reality that you have on a day-to-day basis. And then because it's very lateral thinking, or you start to build that level of thinking up, in my brain, I could just feel it, just like instead of just looking in this narrow direction, it would just open up and I could see the world around me. I'm like, oh, this feels really good. Like my brain feels like it's expanding, and I could feel like I was really missing that. And then so going back to it, it was so we did it week on week, and did the classes online over Zoom, and so it was good fun to do that again. and just try and just see what see what it'd be like on Zoom. So yeah, did a really good job of making it work online. It's just, but there's so much missing by not being there with people and being able to react off of what their body does, what their face does, like. And obviously there's that a little bit of delay as well. If somebody says something and they want to say something, but it seems like they're going to cut someone off when they're on Zoom, and then you can't hear that person, and it's just there's that little bit of kind of that it just creates a little bit of dead space, or like you just go, huh, what did that person say, huh, what did that person say? And so that makes it all tricky, but yeah, it went as well as it could, and it was just good to exercise the brain like that, and then just come up with some like random ideas. Like one of them was which kind of stood out was creating a genre, or rather acting out a genre of movie which doesn't exist. So it's like just basically clump together a bunch of words, and that's going to be the genre of that you're going to act out. And like in that like formula of a movie, or like once upon a time, essentially this happened, that happened, that happened, and then this, and then this, and then finally that, and like there's a whole climax and everything. And so we just came like with the thing that stood out was like one of them was dystopian buddy comedy. It's like that, yeah, exactly. It was it just like I just threw those words out. All I knew is I said dystopian, and then for some reason I thought of Dumb and Dumber. I just went dystopian buddy comedy, and they were like, yeah, cool, let's run with that. and that, yeah, so that was quite fun. And so we basically made like two dudes who were in a car like trying to travel through like dystopian United States, kind of like The Road combined with Dumb and Dumber. Wow. And some like Terminator stuff going on at the same time. Yeah, and it was exactly, so it's just totally random. But you don't like what was amazing about it was how you can just make this into a thing where the instructor was like, okay, we're going to do this for max 25 minutes, and then the next group will do theirs. And then he would say, okay, 5 minutes left. You're like, wait, what the hell? Where did the last 20 minutes just go? It would move so quickly you wouldn't even realize it. So we were able to get to the stage where we're just creating scenes and acting out scenes and chopping and changing between scenes, and not realizing that we're actually coming up with something with a bit of substance as well, because it's actually lasting longer as well. So that was pretty cool, just to realize that. If somebody said to you, do a 25-minute scene, you'd be like, what? That sounds like a really overwhelming task. But then you just start to do it, and you actually realize you can pull it off. So that was what was pretty cool about that as well. So yeah, I'd love to. I want to go back to it, but ideally once it's open and people are seeing each other again and doing it that way, because yeah, it's super valuable, man. It's just that ability to express, ability to think in a different way, interact with people. It's a good way to understand people as well. Like just when you're reacting off of what people are doing, and how you just take things in a completely different direction where you just didn't think it would go, and then you just got to go with it. So it's really good at teaching you a few things about yourself, as well as about how to work together to make something work.
Too right, man. Too right. One thing you said there really stood out, which was that you. I'll try and make the connection here. You said, like, teacher said 25 minutes, and then 5 minutes, when there was 5 minutes left, you're like, wow, where's the time gone? And that made me think of like that happens when you're a kid, hey? Like because you have, everything is a new experience, and you're fully immersed because you've never kind of been here before. And even if you have, it's been quite fleeting. Like, you've played with your cousins only a handful of times, or you've been aware of this new activity only a handful of times, and therefore you get so immersed and so detached from everything else in your life, you don't ever want to stop playing or stop doing that thing.
Yes.
I think it's so interesting, man, how that just the act of doing that is lost. And if you can we take the example of like the opposite end of the spectrum, like the poor office worker who's kind of the same mundane thing day in, day out. On the surface, that is the very opposite of this. Like, there's nothing new, or like the word novel kind of comes to mind about that kind of existence. And the sometimes the what am I trying to say, the external view we see of that is a very miserable person, or very like a human being who's not really expressing themselves, or whenever I see a person, I always one of the first things I see is potential. Like I just see like untapped, or I just see like, oh, this is a means of forward progression. You know what I mean? That's kind of
Yeah.
like what I attribute human beings to being. And when you see somebody who's kind of stuck in one mode of being, you're almost a bit sad, because that in itself is a person physically stuck. You know what I mean? Like not really
Yeah.
being all a human being that they can be. And that has a certain look, it has a certain vibe, it has a certain energy about it. And I think that going back into things that we do when we're children, or recreating that same feeling, could be massively important, man, massively vital for super necessary is what I'm looking forward to say.
Yeah.
Could be super necessary. That's what I just call it what it
Yeah.
is.
You were
Yeah.
just basically, the whole segment was just geared up towards you saying super necessary. That was it. You just needed this to get out.
I started with a punchline. It was like, how do you say super
Yeah.
necessary? Then we go build that now.
That's it.
To get to here.
Exactly.
Yeah,
That's
man.
it. Yeah. Hustle backwards, man. Yeah, it is. It is super necessary because, well, you're gonna bring it up as well. Like one of the things you want to talk about, like, show me the child and I'll show you the man.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sorry, man.
because that was an interesting thing to build on. So yeah, tell me what you mean by that.
It's just something I've heard. I think I heard it fleeting in a podcast, or like a YouTube talk where we're talking about like self-development and how it stems from a very young age, and we plant seeds in certain parts of consciousness, and then they grow from those places. And I think those places can be anything, right? Childhood experience, and how a child sees the world, and how a child is seen by people around them. And there's so many ways of looking at this, but I think the thought process that was trying to be expressed was that if you show me a child of a certain age, certain parts of their development are so progressed over other parts of their development that we can almost extrapolate these out further, and we'll be able to see how they will turn into an adult version of this child. Like I definitely see this. Like we don't, like I look at adults and I just think you're just big children. Like we all are big children. Like I'm never going to be an old human. You're never going to be an old, like, you know, I mean, in the conventional sense of the word, you're just going to be Gorinda, who has now lived this many years. You'll be Umar, who's lived this many years. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
and what I mean by that is, I feel like that's a really interesting thing to explore. Like, do you think it has merit? What do you think to that statement?
Yes, it does have merit. I can point to like examples and in things that I've read. So one of the classic ones is it's quite heavily quoted. I can't remember to what extent. There's other examples of it as well, but this particular one was they had a group of kids. They did an experiment with them. So basically, had a group of kids, and they said to them, here's a cookie, have that now. But if you wait 15 minutes, you get to have 3 cookies, right, or 2, or whatever it was. It was just more. So what they were essentially testing was the ability to hold out for a future reward. So forego the reward now for a reward in the future. And having tracked the kids over a very long period of time, like past college, going into jobs and everything like that, the kids who were better at holding out for the reward, so didn't have the cookie now but waited 15-20 minutes and had the cookie then, had a group of cookies then, they were, by whatever metrics they were measuring, they were more successful. They had better career paths, they had better earning potential, they had better grades at school, you name it. In the things that in the things that helped, they tended, on average, they were performing better than the kids who didn't hold off on the reward. So so it's powerful to know that if you're able to build that habit younger, you've got a hell of a lot more experience in it by the time you hit adulthood, right? It's like, instead of trying to learn something which is like, instead of trying to learn discipline when you're 25, if you've learned it from the age of 5, you've got 20 years of experience in that already, right? 20 years is like a what, like a fourth degree black belt, basically, when it comes to, if you're looking at it from jiu-jitsu perspective. And you look at that and you're like, okay, well, there's literally like a handful of people in the world who kind of have that. There's not that many, So yeah, you just like, that's the level that you can get to. And yeah, there's other examples of it as well. There's things I've read about kids, as young as 3, their nutritional habits get set. So if you're, and habits are, it's not just, what they eat in terms of you either give them broccoli or you give them sugar, but like even as young as that, there's a lot of awareness, and kids are actually very good at building concepts, and that's another thing that I've learned from, like, especially the recent book I've been reading, How Emotions Are Made, and some other stuff around like just around some neuroscience. And what you learn is like kids are very, very good at having concepts of stuff. So when you introduce the concept of, like, essentially healthy choices, you build the parameters for that. They're better at making those choices the older they get. So nutritional habits get set very, very early on, and your personality traits get set pretty early on as well. So you can learn, you can see a lot. You talk about potential. You can see a lot in someone when they're very, very young, and potentially see where they're going to end up. Like, obviously, life can throw many curveballs, and it's always like a winding road. You never really know. But essentially, are you building the right traits in kids to excel older, or not? Are you giving them a bit of a handicap by not introducing healthy choices, not introducing discipline, not introducing especially the concept of hard work and play. And play, one of those things is, like, just basically the ability to push boundaries, but not take it too far. And there's lots to be said about it. There's things I've delved into, which I'm learning are showing just how relevant it is to have the right frameworks for kids when they're growing up, and how that influences them as adults. And there's plenty of stuff there. And I think you're definitely onto something when you say that.
Yeah, man, that's really interesting, some of the things you just said there, because I think the thing you touched on there was kids being able to delay gratification for like momentary, just like, what's the word, abstinence, right? But it would be really interesting to have an assessment almost done from a perspective. Okay, we have exposed the child to this stimulus. This is how they reported back in terms of their current understanding of curveballs in life. Like in this scenario, it's like, I'm gonna abstain, but I'm gonna reward myself later on. Okay, so they have some kind of understanding of this. The assessment score is X, Y, and Z. I'm making this very, very like fucking clipboard and whatever. But I mean, it's legit at a certain point, right? And then I suppose building that out into, okay, well, this also happens in life, or we can stimulate this by having this scenario. Okay, your bike's been stolen, now you have to get home, or some shit like this. You know what I mean? Like just to expose the psyche to these things at a young age, so that we have a means of dealing with these things in a very clear and concise way, understanding what they are and how they happen, and how we are to then align with our values when faced with these things, or align with a specific value. And then you end up having a thing to attribute back your thought process to. You know what I mean? So it's just building it holistically. Oh, okay, problems will always come. Lesson number 1, this is going to happen, right? But then, okay, which one of our superpowers, which one of our values or virtues do we need to access at specific times. And I think that's such an interesting thing to think about when we regard like childhood development, because we look at math, English, and science, but look at the human, man. Look at the human in terms of what the human needs to exist in the world. Really, what do they need? And then upon that, we can create a stable environment about, okay, now the human needs to be having a job. It's like, okay, cool, job. Like job at a certain age, but pre that, could there be a curriculum based around these metrics?
Yeah, fully.
Yeah.
I think, I think one of the, this is why play is so important. It's even really important for us as adults, right? Because from a bunch of research like which has been done, is like if I make something a bit more playful for you to learn in terms of, you know, your body movement, then you're gonna get it better than if it's heavily, like there's that balance between structure and play. But if it's like too heavily structured, then you don't get the benefit of play. And play has a lot of benefit because when you introduce that kind of like novelty, your brain adapts a hell of a lot more quickly to the task at hand. So a good one I like to use, for example, is like, you know, if somebody's doing like single leg exercises, or just essentially just trying to improve their balance, one of the things I can do is like, you know, use a yoga block, place a couple of yoga blocks one in front of the other. Is like, okay, you got one foot on one yoga block, you put the other foot on the other yoga block, then you got to remove the yoga block that's left behind you now, put it in front, then you got to step. So what somebody is doing is learning to build balance without thinking about just doing a hip hinge or just doing a balance exercise. And then on top of that is kind of introduce some structure with that as well, right? Just let them play with it, figure it out as you by yourself, and then any discrepancies in quality of movement that I see, I'm going to improve your execution of that. And then, you know, people just kind of like, oh, you know, I learned something, I did something I didn't think I could do, and, you know, I feel better for it. Not just it's the play aspect of it, but also because I've challenged myself, I've challenged my body, and I feel good for having done that. And with kids, play is super relevant to the extent that it's where they learn how to socialize properly with each other. So they learn the rules of engagement as well. So one thing that kids are always doing is by playing, they're making rules up as they go along. So even if it's outlandish, even if it's wild, it's happening automatically. So they're learning that for there to be a game where everybody can play fairly, they've got to have some rules for it, right? And then the ones they kind of figure it out themselves, and they learn that if I break these rules, then I'm going to be cast out. I'm not going to be allowed to play the game, and I don't want to be that kid. And so there's a lot of that social interaction that's going on, and play fighting is something that more and more nowadays is getting looked at as a negative thing. You know, is like they're trying to beat it out of, like they're saying, like, fucking toxic masculinity. Don't get me started about that stuff, but toxic masculinity. We need boys to not be boys, and we need to stop them from fighting with each other because it's toxic behavior. It's like, you don't realize how important it is to be able to do that in a controlled environment. Yep. And that controlled environment is when you have an adult around, when you have a parent around to watch what's going on, right? Because again, there's lots of things that's going on, but there's the expression, there's being physical. When you are being physical in that sense, you build this level of confidence in yourself that you can't get in any other way. Like, you know, you know it, I know it, is that when I'm practicing fighting, there's something that is tapping into a part of me which I can't get from, like, you know, doing strength training or doing whatever. Like, it's a different level of confidence that comes from knowing that you can handle yourself. Then there's and then the other things around it are again, rules of engagement. You're learning how far you can take things. And then the role of the parent is to make sure that basically if the kid's taken it too far, they know they've taken it too far, and you know, they're appropriately punished for that, or appropriately treated for that. but I think it's detriment to young kids growing up if they're getting told not to fight with each other or not to play fight with each other. They have to learn those rules the hard way, and also because words mean very little to kids, in the sense that I could explain a word, I could explain what it means, and they can start to develop the concept for that, but they have to experience the concept of it. So you can tell somebody all you want, you can tell a child all you want that that was I'm just trying to think of like an example maybe, but it almost in a way is like, it doesn't matter how many times, if I explain to a child, here is a behavior and this behavior is bad, but they're not going to know until they've actually done that behavior, and then there's the corresponding consequence for that, right?
Yep.
So it's basically learning by trial and the consequences of the actions that they've taken, because that is the realest way that they get learned. They learn what's going on. It's just that motor output. They get the sensory feedback from that output, and they realize whether it's good or bad, and they do more of it if they realize it's good. They do less of it if they realize it's bad. So, and where play fighting comes into it is again just like rules of engagement, healthful aggression release. It's physical, it's play, and they'll learn very, very quickly what's right and what's wrong. And then when you have that, it is correlated with proper expression of aggression as well. So kids who don't tend to have that ability to release that aggression, and are told that just play fighting is bad, they're a lot more warped in, well, again, on average, they're more warped in the way they express aggression as teenagers and adults. Whereas if you actually have that ability to play fight with one another, then you have a better sense of how to engage with people as you grow older.
That's, man, that segment was like talking about me with that, bro. I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. So interesting.
What's your experience?
So interesting. Oh, I don't even know where to jump in, bro.
Yeah. So you vibed with that in your own experience.
Yeah, I did. A lot of vibes. Yeah, man. I think I'm going to touch on my experience in a second, but I'm going to try and kind of pull on this thread, because you talked about like the difference between play and structure there, like having too much structure as a child, and the benefits in some ways, but also the negatives of that. But then the over exuberance of play, and then the understimulation of play, I suppose we could put it like that, like playing too much and too aggressively, or kind of letting your emotions kind of take you, being led by your emotion in that playful setting, and maybe kind of getting a bit too aggressive, or not playing at all and not expressing anything through like your emotion, you know what I mean? So you're not even kind of being playful. And it made me think, it's the thought it pulled out of my head is like, when we look at like tribal culture, is almost like you hear about these like rites of passage, and there is certain like, okay, we're going to go out into the jungle here, or we're going to kind of hunt for this, or this is going to be your path, you know what I mean? We're going to expose you to the elements, we're going to expose you to all the things that you need to deal with to travel forward. But what we seem to almost be doing is just, no, let's subdue that, and then when the man goes into the world, he's ill-equipped, and then especially with men, I feel like this is going to be a bit of a stab in the dark, but in a world where I feel like women are really finding their voice, and rightly so, men are almost finding absence in a way. There isn't a balance of a male masculine presence that sometimes can be completely balanced in nature, not be too hype, not be too submissive, just the middle ground, because potentially where we've come from is a place of the sword or the fist. But now it's like, okay, well, we need to be here, but how do we be here? How do we kind of conduct ourselves, and do we go too far the wrong way? You know what I mean? That's the dialogue that I'm kind of trying to unpick with what you're talking about. And I think when the way you related it back to being playful and having too much structure versus not having enough structure, Yeah, it's so interesting, man. It's so interesting, and I can say from have I written anything else down? Yeah, no, that was it. But from my own experience, like, surprise, surprise, I was a bigger kid, right? Having that kind of gift and burden from a young age is really interesting. Now I look back, because I was always aware that even if I did, like, if I just put my hand up and I just dropped it on my thigh, like, this is a heavy hand. Like, I didn't do it.
Yeah.
I didn't do anything to have this, but I've just got
Yeah.
given this hand. Like, and I need to now know what to do with it. And my mum would say this to me in Punjabi a lot when I was younger. "Haath tere bahut bhare ne." Like, your hands are very heavy, right? And it doesn't mean anything to a child. Like you said, it doesn't mean anything to a child until you have a play fight with your sister, and now she's like got a bloody nose, and you're like, oh shit, what do I need to do? I need to run, I need to hide somewhere, because this is about to go really bad for me, right? So that's how you learn that. Oh fuck, like I need to learn what to do with this. And obviously you don't ever intend, because as a child you're just like, hit you hit me, right? And at a certain age, that the balance there shifts, because you have a sister who's like 3 years older than you, and all of a sudden she can't say shit because you can just hit her back, right? Like, that's that's the experience I've had there. But what you're talking about with regards to dumbing that down, or just kind of trying to suppress that, that's so interesting, because my experience with that was, no, like, don't do that, because you're going to hurt somebody. And I mean, I took this to the wrong extremes. Like, I could tell you stories about that. I think we've touched on it in the past. Like me, I was just, I don't know whether it was aggression. It wasn't aggression. It was playfulness, because I would fight with my dad when he would come home. That was my version of Khabib and his bear, right? My dad was my real bear, right? Thankfully, he was like, he had conscience and he had kind of understanding. But I would get pinned underneath him. Man. Yeah, man, 100%. And you know, I attribute that to how I feel nowadays when it comes to weight training, or when it comes to wrestling with Silvio, is that there's a certain level of, no, I'm not going to try. I'm not going to quit. Like, even if you tap me out or whatever, I've got to get up and I've got to try again. I've got to try again, because I had some of that when I was younger. I didn't have a lot of it, but I had some of it, and that came in the form of this 23, 24 stone man laying on you, and I'm a child, and just being like, you can't do shit, mate. Like, scream and crackle all you want, but in that moment is where you start to develop. I can't go now. Like, I'm not gonna tap out here. I'm gonna just cry my eyes out, because that's what would happen quite often. But it's just me trying. That's my version of extreme effort, right? Is to just rage out. But then you can't, like, sometimes you're told not to do that with your own kids your own age, and then there's a bit of a disconnect there. So play turns into, ooh, I can play, but then, or if you want to play like that, then we can't play like that. Like, I know I can't play like that with you. And I remember from a very young age being in primary school and actually freaking out because, oh shit, like, I really want to hit you right now, but I can't hit you because you don't understand. Like, this genuinely, like,
you don't understand what this is.
It's not like that. Wasn't even ego. That was just genuine. Like, oh man, you're pissing me off, and you're defo in the wrong. But I just like, no, this is conflicting me right now at this age. You know what I mean? But at that age, what would have been ideal here's a dojo. Go to martial arts. Let them teach you how to channel this with technique and peace and understanding. And basically, martial arts is a metaphor for a curriculum for dealing with the emotions that can be kind of all over the place. You know what I mean? In the right settings. Obviously, there is bad versions of, don't go to Cobra Kai, because they'll teach you how to be a bad kid.
Cobra Kai never die.
Kick the leg. Don't take the leg.
Sweep the leg.
Yeah, sweep the leg. But yeah,
you got a problem with that?
She's going, man. She's going.
Yeah.
I think in that setting, it's yeah, man. The stuff you were saying is so on the money, and it as a young kid who was a bit different in that setting. I'm sure there's kids in school who, I remember a kid called Joel in our secondary school who was actually freaky smart, like freaky smart, to the point where he was just ultra bored in classes. And I imagine for him, it was a very different experience to me. Like this kid, I swear he used to count his macros in secondary school. Like, he was that clever, and he was diced to the bone and super clever, decently athletic, but lacked social skills, lacked a lot of social skills. So it's having that objective criteria that we can then intelligently move people forward on and be like, okay, this is something that we can help your kid with, because he's doing great over here. Like he can run through walls. Great job. But when it comes to like the example you gave at the very start, I would have downed that cookie in about half a second. Like,
Yeah.
give it here, man. What are you playing at? I'm not gonna wait. I don't trust you.
And then I'll have it again in 15 minutes.
Because you can't say shit. Like,
Yeah.
that's why it would have been. That's would have been me. But it's really interesting, man. I love this conversation. What about yourself, man? What kind of experience in this realm did you have?
So where I can relate that is luckily being surrounded by lots of extended family when we were growing up. So luckily, because it's just like there's lots of different characters as well, and we're all lots of different ages. So I was kind of, I was probably like middle upper age, middle upper age group. So we'd have like basically from 5 to 15 just kind of hanging out with each other at these family events, and there's probably like 10 to 15 of us as well. So it's like a fair few amount of us, and what's cool is like parents will be doing their own thing, they're having a laugh as well, you know, trying to keep an eye on the kids, but at the end of the day there's like 10 to 15 of us. You ain't going to be able to keep an eye on everyone. We just do our own thing. We're just having a laugh and we're just messing around, and you know, we're doing stupid kid shit. We are pushing the boundaries as well. But then what's amazing about it is it's self-regulating as well, because I just remember this instance of my two cousins who would just basically just grate each other up the wrong way. They were just pissing each other off all the time, and they were older as well. And then at one point, one of them just got the other one like this and pushed him up against the wall.
Oh yeah.
And so it was getting serious, but even as kids, we were like, okay, no, this is wrong. Like, this shouldn't happen. We're like, all right, calm down. Can you just not do that, please? Because we don't want to be involved in anything where somebody gets their face punched in. And yeah, you knew that. So, and we were just kind of regulating ourselves, in that kind of sense. And if it was like where it just got a little bit too out of hand, oh, well, then we're going to get told on, and then we're going to get fucked, basically. Or we would kind of like in some way we would just kind of realize that something ain't right, because so things like that, you just you play, you take things a little too far, and you come back from that a little bit. So I remember instances like that, and things like. There's another one where one of my cousins was a proper dick to another two of our cousins. They were younger, so he basically did like a little House of Horrors thing on them. Like he locked him in the shed. It's so messed up, but it's funny as well in hindsight. It's like again, so many people around, right? But he locked him in the shed, and they're like, oh, we can't get out. And then they start panicking a little bit. He goes and gets tomato ketchup and starts spraying it on the windows, and then like gets a fork and just starts like scratching up the windows, like with the, like as if he's just basically making it seem like somebody's out to get them and kill them.
Oh wow! I'm like,
you fucking nutcase. And it's proper funny, but they were so shook. They were crying their eyes out. They came out, and obviously they told their parents, and then the parents just had a proper go at our cousin.
I love that.
And it's like, yeah, okay, you go and learn, man. It's like, okay, you got your moment of satisfaction from like fucking with these kids, but there's consequences to this.
I love that, man. That kid legit needs to go and see like Sam Raimi or something and get into some horror movie shit, man. Because that's legit to have that level of understanding of what this is. Watch me shit these guys up real quick with this ketchup and my fork. Like, what the hell, man? I love that. Exactly. I love that.
Proper messed up, man. It was so funny. I just remember that. And but yeah, it's like it got him good, man. And then obviously there's consequences, that kind of thing. So when you're playing like that and you push the boundaries, and then you gotta be brought back from that, the consequences of that. Yeah, there's you essentially learn how to be in the world, and it's like what you said about like your dad play fighting with you as well, just kind of like sitting there, lying there on you, and it's like stuff like that is so important. Is the ability like to because what he's doing is just showing his son and his kids as well. It's just the rule again. The rules of engagement is like how far you can take it. If you like proper clocked him in the face, he'll be like, all right, you do that again, you know what's coming, right? That kind of thing. And so then you learn from that experience, and that's super important. You just learn how to be with people.
Mm.
And yeah, I mean, I can't quote the stats completely off the top of my head, but I just remember reading some wild shit where, especially this applies to the States, but it's not really a surprise, but it is surprising to some people because of, again, partly because of the idea of like toxic masculinity is because boys are being taught how to be toxic, or rather, their actions are not being regulated. Well, the the boys who suffer the most are the ones who are in single parent household, i.e., raised by a single mother. When the dad's not on the scene, they have either have an absent father or like they're just not getting raised by a dad. And kids like that tend to end up committing more crimes. They end up having problems socially a little bit more as well. Again, not regulating aggression and emotions, things like that. So the what seems crazy to other people but makes a lot of sense is they just basically don't have a steady father figure in their life to show them the way.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're not having that, then yeah, of course your aggression and your emotion and all that kind of stuff is going to be dysregulated because you just don't know how to engage with that properly. And there is a limitation, just like there is with men, limitation in raising kids to a certain degree. They can't do things that the mothers can do. There's something that the mothers can't do that the dads can do. And I heard somebody talk about it a little while back as well, which was a good point, because his two very young sons, wanted to basically they were having a fight and they were just rocking it out. And the mom was like, "Stop it! Stop it! Stop it! This is bad! This is bad! This is bad!" And he was like, "No, I need these guys. These two need to know how this plays out. So I'm going to take them out back in the garden, and they're going to fight, and I'm just going to make sure that it's okay, right?" And so that interplay, where it's like, the mother wants to make sure that nothing bad happens, they don't hurt each other, and is going to stamp out the playful aggression. The father's like, "No, we need to let this play out, but I'm controlling what happens. I'm controlling the outcome of this. It's going to be done in a controlled environment." So when the father figure's not there, and then traditionally you've got mothers who are like, "Just don't do this because I just don't want my babies to get hurt." That balance isn't there, so that level of growth isn't optimized for the kid in terms of being able to, especially when it comes to, I say especially, but in one of those things that it comes to, which is aggression, and handling that is not instilled as well as it could be.
Huge, bro. Huge. It's made me like think of. I completely see that point, but then even looking at like sometimes you see parents, and I'm not a parent, so I can't really judge, but then you can almost like the only experience you have is how you were raised, and you can liken what you see in parenting to how a child is currently being raised, and you think, okay, even though you do have a parent, you have both, they don't have the tools to provide you with what you definitely need as a child to have both of these experiences. Like the parent didn't do the work, so therefore you can't pass the work forward. And that's really what we're limiting when we talk about like what you said earlier with toxic masculinity and not letting kids play, is that I don't want to open the can of gender roles, but like it falls there, right? It falls there. Like if a woman's way is to be child nurturing and caring in that sense, and a man's way sometimes is to be job seeking and providing in that sense, then there's a certain level of attributes that have to go with that to make that person more expressive in that domain. And if we limit those things from a young age, then what do we have? Like what's the product? Because I don't really know what that sum equals. Yeah. It's really interesting, man. Super interesting. And then like I think just kind of going back to my own experience, it would have been very, very interesting to see how, because it's really just channeling potential, right? Like the book of like Maxwell Maltz, Psycho-Cybernetics. I'm revisiting that right now, And I never actually finished it, but I've got a lot of the way through it. But then, you want to listen to it with new eyes and new ears. One of the things he talks about is this analogy of this guidance missile, and it only knows that it's going off course because of this like servo mechanism within it. The servo mechanism knows the destination, it knows the trajectory, and then it will detect if there's a bit of a gust of wind, it will pull you back onto course. If there's a little bit of an object to avoid, it will kind of go around and pull you back on. But that servo mechanism is in this scenario is the missile will be the child, and the servo mechanism, the guidance system, will be the parent. But if that guidance system doesn't know how this child is to traverse because their own trajectory has been a bit warped and a bit off in some ways, then it's I suppose that's how you get variation. But then you definitely need some of the right source, some of the right ingredients to keep effective people, and then that goes into building strong communities, right? I suppose that's what dictates what we need. And it's difficult to say, okay, well, why is this thing valued more than the other? Well, what service can it provide in the context of a community? That can almost dictate, like, what we do. We are extrapolations of like healers, right? Healers, but then also self-development. So I mean, teachers, in a way we're teachers. So this is vital, I think, absolutely vital, because we would go away, we study ourselves, we put ourselves at the computer, at the book or whatever, or out in experience, and we relay that information back. But then other experiences, other teachings might not be as valuable. So you'd almost look at that and be like, okay, well, these are the things you definitely need, in the same way that our curriculums in school will say, you need X, Y, and Z to pass. Well, this stuff is no less valuable. Probably it's more valuable, right?
Yeah, because that's what prepares you to handle, to deal with life, to be able to get through it with that ability to adapt. Because you learn a set of skills which are useful for prospering and optimizing your life, as opposed to a set of skills which are only applicable in a narrow domain. For example, we talked about it last time a little bit, but school is essentially geared towards getting you, like we talked about it being like mostly is channeling obedience, is making you obedient and gearing you up to have a job in this very structured kind of way. But if but that's a pretty narrow domain in terms of what life can throw at you. So there's more to it than that, and it's just essentially those life skills as opposed to school skills, that you need to garner and cultivate. I think
100%.
That's where it helps you.
Totally agree, man. You said something there which is really, really powerful. Like, skills in a narrow domain, and like this life is anything but narrow. Hey, like what you made me think of was like the Chinese weightlifter kids, like the judgment of criteria is like, I don't know, they'll see like what's your femur to tib fib ratio, how I don't know, your pelvis, can you achieve certain levels of hip flexion, and dorsiflexion or whatever. Like, those are skills that they're looking for in a very narrow domain. Like, this kid has the bare bones to be a good back squatter, but let's see for the sport of life. Does that kid have the attributes he'll need to deal with what's to come? You know what I mean? That's such an interesting thing to explore, and based on our own experiences. Like your cousin defo has the skills to be scary. One scary little guy, man. One scary little guy. But I suppose this is what happens later in life. It comes out in the wash, like with people like us, in the sense that this morning I had a chat with a friend, and it was all about self-development. And it was, okay, well, let's go back and look at the things that we aren't doing, so that we can slowly move forward, or things that we would like to include in our life. And like we said, like we always talk about the language we use to ourselves. Now, we're learning these now at the age of 30, 29 or whatever, right? Like, so the ship ain't sailed, never sailed. I don't believe in that bullshit. Like, you can't, exactly. Old dog, new tricks. No, man. But it's almost something, in a way, it's almost more valuable now because you run at it with some passion. You know what I mean? You've had years to develop passion and to understand that fully and feel it, you know, the color of it, the feel of it, the tactile nature of passion. And then when you get a new book, you just, you go to it with everything. But yeah, having this from a young age could be very, very interesting. I think you see examples of that when you meet people that are just rounded in ways. Oh, Jesus! Like you give the analogy of the black belt, the 4-degree black belt in jiu-jitsu. You tussle with someone like that, and you're going to know about it, right? Because you'll be made to a human pretzel before you know it. which interesting was my first experience in jiu-jitsu, right? Like the guy who just tied me up in knots for 10 minutes. And then I suppose that's then you can look at that kind of person, you're almost in awe a little bit, because you're like, wow, this is what life expressed in the ways that we value looks like. And shit, wow, thanks for that. You can't really not be happy in that kind of presence, especially if you're looking at it in the way that we look at things.
That's it, man. It's like teaching an old dog new tricks. It's entirely possible. Because I've got a client who's like nearly in their 70s, and just learning how to move in a fresh way, and is loving every moment of it. And it's like, that's amazing. That's inspiring as well, because it's like it just feels like we're so far away from that. But at the same time, you're gonna blink and you're gonna wake up. You're gonna be 70 years old, and you'll be like, shit, that happened real quick. And so to know that there's, just looking at it, I'm quite inspired by it, to be honest. It's like watching my client just always talk about ways they're trying to improve their life, and it's like, that's amazing. I love that you live your life like you've got a lot of life left, because you have. It's like, whether if you want to look at average age statistics, is like whether it's till like 76 or 77 in the States, so in theory, like, maybe you only live to the average age and it's only got another 8 years, but you got a lot of life left in those 8 years. Maybe you got another 20 years to go, but you got a lot of life left in that. If maybe you got 6 months to go, but even then you got a lot of life to live in those 6 months, just depending on how you approach it. So it's awesome to see that. It's I really appreciate it, and it's a good thing to watch, because it's like amazing. You are still improving your life no matter what age you get to.
That's it, man. That's it. It's like, it's the don't count the days, make the days count, right? That's exactly it. And like the Jordan Peterson line comes to mind of the node in a network, but then you're recognizing of another node and being like, yeah, good job, man. Like you fight the good fight. Like even though it's like, I don't know why it brought back images of the Matrix. Is I think it's Reloaded, or it's what's the last Matrix, the crazy one? Revolutions. So when they're in the big mech suits, and there's that older guy, and he's a pretty badass, right? It's like he's going out, but he's going out like with all guns blazing, literally.
Exactly.
It's that's the image I see when I see somebody who is unwavering in their resolve. Like, again, like we said, the body will wither, but it's just going to be Grinda. I mean, it's just still you. Like, whatever you are, you will just be you in that later form. And it's like you said, it's very inspiring to see that. But equally sad, I think. Sorry, mate. Say all this as is. Yeah, man. It's equally sad when you see unfulfilled potential. Obviously in yourself, when you see that, you're just like, this is the worst feeling, and like you've described it in your own way in the past. I think it's great the way you describe it. But then you see it in others and you think, man, you've got, but at some point in this road, either you stopped believing or you never were told that this is actually where you come from. It's like the Harry Potter line, like when he's like, "You're a wizard, Harry." It's like, oh shit, I can do all this stuff. Like, no one ever told me this. But telling somebody that from a young age, I think making them feel, this is why I love, like, you watch these videos of parents telling their kids, like, you can do whatever you want to do, whatever it is, you can do it, you can achieve it. That's so vital, man. That's so vital, because you don't play by the rules of the world, and unfortunately the world and the top it's a business, it's a hierarchy, it's a structure that's created, but it doesn't appease the human. That stuff is right to the core of the person, right? And that's when somebody believes that and they go forward with that vision, that's when you see amazing people and amazing things, because they, like you said, they've been a 4th degree black belt and now they're only 7. It's like,
Yeah.
damn dangerous child, man.
Exactly. It's like, yeah, exactly. What is it? The shorter, usual shorter time span of which you get into black belt is like, 7 years or something. It's like from day 0 to age 7, that kid's a black belt already.
Savage, man. Savage.
Like starting to, is just instilling that level of, instilling the skills to be able to, to be able to hit black belt in like lots of different domains, right? And just that crossover.
Too right,
it's a good way to break it down. I think it's just like, what level am I at all these different things? In a lot of ways, I just feel like I'm a purple belt in my line of work, because I'm always like, I'm at that stage where I know this is what I'm about, and now I'm adding other like things to keep refining what I'm doing. It's just the concept that at purple belt, you get to the level where this is going to be your game, but you're just getting better and better and better and better at that game through brown belt and then to black belt, right? And but I don't know, because I'm still a blue belt in jits. So, and I will be for fucking forever, because I ain't lifting.
Get used to that thing, my friend.
Yeah,
blue
exactly.
For life. Blue for
That's
life.
it, man. Blue. You're my boy, Blue. I don't care, man. As long as I just feel like I'm getting better, that's good. But it's like so that kind of concept, right? And then just thinking, didn't I just think about it in other areas of life? Like, where am I? Where do I feel like I might be a black belt? Where do I feel like I might be a blue belt or a purple belt? Where am I a complete white belt? Where am I a complete beginner? But it's nice to look at it that way as well, because it just shows that, oh yeah, there's progressions to this that I'm able to make. You can get to blue belt in a lot of different things in life, and that's usually a decent enough level for most things. But it's like, but what really floats your boat? Where's your curiosity at? What really inspires you? And then, okay, well, I want to push on further and further and further and further, and down the track there.
Totally agree, man. Really, really interesting things to that really interesting way of quantifying it. And I think at the end of the day, like, going from white to blue is like going from 75 kilos to 72 kilos. Like it's a big thing in terms of the number on the scale. But what gets you from point A to point B is the habits, and that's the habits of repetition, of arm drag, of collar tie, of sleeve control, of all this shit. Right? That's the thing we're really looking at, the habits that you're creating along the way, and then the expression of that habit along the way is like, okay, now you're worthy of the status of black belt. And man, it's really interesting, really, really interesting, cool way of looking at things. I think I got to open that up to viewers at home and be like, this is a fun topic for us. I can tell G's enjoying it. I'm definitely enjoying it. What's your take on this, and do you think it has merit? Because we got some great interaction a couple of weeks back from one of the podcasts, and even last week we got some good interaction. So have some thoughts on that, people. Let's hear your thoughts. You know where to reach us. Usually Instagram. We get a lot of messages through Instagram, so message in. People in India, we're listening for you guys. Yeah, you guys are our biggest audience. Let's hear from you guys out there. So send it in. Punjabi, English, we don't care, man. Just get the messages in.
Yeah, it's like, well, I can't read Punjabi, so please translate if you can.
yeah. Or just send it in Punjabi, but with the English text, and we have a good time figuring it out.
Yeah, exactly. New skill, right? New skill to develop.
Too right, white belt time.
That's it, man. Tell me about Evolve Brown. Tell me about the name.
Evolve Brown is what it says in the tin, bro. It says you got to move forward, right? You got to move forward with move forward or die, right? That's really the thought process here. And saying it that dramatically, obviously it's not. We're not looking at it like that, but you. It's everything we've just been talking about, man. It's everything we've just been talking about. And what I absolutely love about life is the fact that you can wake up one morning and have a thought, and then another, and another, and another, and then act on that thought, and before you know it, you're in a different place entirely. Regardless of what has been in the past, we have choice. You know, that's amazing. And then speaking to someone like yourself, speaking to I had a chat with Emily Anger this morning. Emily Anger came on the podcast and gave a great account of herself, give us a great conversation. Go back and listen to that one. If you which one, G? Come on, man. I'm looking for you on this. Come on.
I'm gonna say episode 29. Oh,
she's the 5 foot blonde girl. So we've already had one. So you can't really miss her. Maybe 29.
Dude,
do you think that recent?
If I'm right about that, I mean,
I'm gonna say earlier than that. I'm gonna say like 23, 24.
Oh man,
we got. We'll figure out. Sure. Actually, you might be right. You know, because I hope you're right. The excitement. He's looking. Yeah. So
I am looking. I got to figure this out.
Come on.
It is. It's 29.
Is it? Oh, bad. The trivia, the knowledge. That's why you are brown right there.
I'm Aspie Brown, man. That's Goodwill Hunting Brown. That's what that is.
I love that. You're just straight Robin Williams Brown.
Yeah. I'm impressed. I'm impressed with myself. I must say so.
Give us all a pat on the back, bro.
Yeah,
there we go.
Yeah,
there we go. I love it.
Dust
off
the shoulder, babe.
Tea.
Yeah, but that was it. That was a sick episode. Yeah, definitely. People go listen to that episode 29 with Emily. Just dropping some hot bombs, man. So
too right. Definitely. I'm going to revisit that this weekend as well. So just Evolve Brown was just talking about how thankful to have these thoughts and thankful to have exposure to yourself, who's exposed me to X, Y, and Z, and then go along with thought processes along this way, because ultimately we now have the ability to look at our lives and self-reflect on the things we've just been talking about. Okay, yes, our childhoods were geared in a certain direction. It is what it is, and now we have to choose. Like, do I want to conduct myself in this way? I'm a white belt here. Like, let's make a plan to move forward, because this is causing me some discomfort. It's causing me some irritation or like a lack that I don't want to see, because I know it will spread. And I think I have this thought sometimes, like, if I'm able to code my own genetics, do I want to pass this one on? No. Like, no, this shit dies in me. I'm gonna kill it right now. Like, that's the thought process with which when the fire is full, that's what I feel. So yeah, that sparked then maybe Evolve Brown, and obviously our title of our podcast had a little something to do with it. So thank you very much, Mr. Gorinda, for thinking about that. Yeah, man. Yeah. That's been my thought process this week, last couple of days, for sure. How about yourself, man? What do you think to evolve in that context?
That's it. Evolve or die, like you said, man. Evolve or die. I'm with you on that one. I like what you said earlier as well. Is like the first thing I see when I look at a person is potential, and if you ain't evolving, then you're actually getting further and further away from that your potential. You're achieving that potential, because it's too easy. It's like just very quickly things can spiral downwards if you're not doing anything. If you're just not taking action towards doing things that you find valuable, then it's just easy to spiral down and out and away from that potential, because just like kind of doing nothing is it actually pulls you further away. It's not like you stand still. It's just that you actually go backwards, because everything pulls away from you. And it becomes harder and harder to try and achieve your potential the more you do nothing.
Totally agree, man.
Yeah,
I totally agree. Man. Whatever you're
evolving, bro.
Too right, man. Too right. Like, whatever you do, you're wiring something, right? You're wiring something by doing or not doing, and then it's the wolf analogy. It's the you believe you can or you can't. You are right. It's everything, right? That's. It's funny because I had a conversation with a client of mine, Umbreen. Big shout out to Umbreen, smashing it. Honestly, the most, how would I say, body-aware, middle-aged Asian housewife that I've ever trained. Like ask her to just bust out a bottoms under press with a kettlebell, and she's just like, yeah, what? like I had to work for months for that range of motion. You know, like, you just walk up out of bed with it. This ain't cool, man. This ain't cool.
That's jokes.
Very, very capable. Like even though she's got her own limitations in regards to a poorly ACL or the other things that she has to deal with. Like, but yeah, fantastic in some realms and trains damn hard. We had a conversation on the back of the show. And she was talking about how inspired she was and how much it just kind of spurred her on, because she didn't know. I don't know if I didn't mention to her my own little like progression from where I was to where I am now. Like she'd been told by a friend and referred through a friend. And she told me, like, I knew you'd lost some weight, but I didn't know it was this much. Like, what the hell? This is kind of crazy. And you'd see the spark in her, and it got me thinking, like, sometimes I think what we do for people is we don't what's the word? We can tell somebody, like, you need to kind of change in this, that, or the other way. Or we can say, oh, if you want to fulfill your potential, you're going to need to start changing. But sometimes that thing of changing is so foreign to people, or even the options to change are so foreign to people, that it's what leads them to, like, Weight Watchers, or what leads them to there, because they're just like lost in the dark trying to find a way. And it's sad that these fad kind of things exist, but I feel like when we work with people on this level, we're almost doing the work that we spoke about earlier in regards to how we would work with children. And like I said, I don't see adults any different to kids. I think we're all just on a spectrum, right? We get a bit more kind of understanding and a bit more kind of like demise, and we kind of like behave ourselves a bit better, and we have a bit more like decorum about ourselves. But we still need to work on these things, and if no one's ever shone that light and shown you the way that you can evolve, I feel like it's very hard for some people. But that's where we come in, right? Like it's problem solvers. Like we're just trying to be present and be available to solve your shit, you know what I mean? Because we've got plenty of shit to solve ourselves, and it's a fun place to be. And we've always talked about how much we enjoy our work. Yeah, man, fun times with evolving.
Yeah, exactly, and it's difficult. It's easy to get lost, especially because there's this. It's not a wealth of information. It's just a field of weeds of information out there, and so you keep trying one thing and the next thing and the next thing and the next thing, and it's just it's not useful. So having people around to show the way is like, look, we know how this works. Just commit to it, follow that process, and you're gonna get where you want to be, and then that evolution begets even more evolution. You just start to, you don't even realize what you can achieve from it as well, right? It just, other things emerge from that. You're just like, okay, I've got this goal. You start to work towards it, and then you realize that you're capable of so much more than you actually thought you were when you started out. And you just start to think, oh wait, I could maybe try this, or I can maybe try that. And just a good example is like with a client who just in the time I've been training them, didn't think that they would run, like never thought it was a thing, especially with like a knee that had been operated on, and but then just was like, actually everything, I'm just gonna take a run one day, and just did it, and is like, super happy with that. And it's amazing. It's amazing because you just don't realize that you have that access to things that you just didn't realize you would ever be able to do. But that only comes from actually being on the journey and doing the process, and committing to the process, because things just unveil themselves to you as you go along. Like, more opportunities come your way the more you work towards the opportunities you're trying to create for yourself. So you just gotta do it, man. Just gotta be on that process. Stick with it,
man. Damn right. Totally agree, man. Totally agree. It's so valuable. And I think that again, you got to just open it up to the people out there and be like, in which ways? Obviously, I feel like January has been the theme has been goal setting, and it's been evolving, and it's been doing new shit and that's mad. It's been a few other themes,
That's
right?
wild. That's wild.
Yeah, that's wild. Sorry, that's wild. That's wild. There we go.
Yeah.
Yeah. In which ways do you wish to move forward and progress? Like you hearing this as the listener, I'm talking to you right now. What ways does your soul need to be directed right now? Write in, let us know. And it's interesting to share these things because once you share them, you could get a response that you weren't expecting. And that response can push you forward, or it can turn you around and put you in a different direction. Either way, I feel like in some way it could benefit you. So I know personally in my life, my experience, I've been fortunate enough to have shared my experiences with many people, and on the back of that, received so much knowledge from the people around me, and that's ultimately what leads me to believe people are just potential, because I have been, the word I'm going to try and use is like potentialized. I don't know if that works. Like just filled with potential. Like take me to the Chevron station and fill me up with some potential, right? Like that's how I feel people kind of done what they've done to me when I've asked them, when I've kind of put myself out there, put my dreams out there, is that I've got that response. So I feel like we are here to do the same. So let's keep this dialogue going with the Evolve, Achieve, Thrive peoples and nation. Let's hear it, people. Let's hear the ways in which you want to evolve, and what you're proud about as well. What makes you proud in your life?
Yeah.
Let's hear it.
Exactly. That's it. Yeah, you got to talk about it a lot. It's like you got to celebrate the things that you're winning at in life as well, because that just kind of gets pushed out. And but the more you can do that, the more you just inspire yourself. So that's important, because inspiration keeps you going. Motivation is fleeting. So be inspired is where you want to be at.
Love that, bro. Love that. Should we knock out the head there, bro?
Yeah, that's a good place to call it.
Sound.
Nice, man.
Peoples, hope you enjoyed the chat. I definitely did.
Yeah, exactly. Hope you enjoyed it. And then, like Umar was saying, just get in touch with us. Tell us what you're thinking about these different things he's asked you questions about. And please, if you're enjoying the podcast, please like, rate, subscribe to the show. Jump on Apple iTunes, on Apple Podcasts or iTunes, and just give us a rating, drop us a review. It helps the podcast get found out and just reach more people like you. So appreciate it, folks. And we'll catch you next week.